Hi, I'm Joe Mechlinski. I'm the CEO of entreQuest. The recruiting industry is a $140 billion industry, and there are some major players. So I would say, before I say that they're all doing it wrong, I acknowledge that it's been around for quite some time, and we've got a big company here in town, and I'm sure they do great work. But when it comes to small to mid-sized businesses, I feel like they don't get the care and attention that they need from potentially some of those bigger companies. And so our COO, Misty Aronson, who's been with us for 10 years, she and I, when she first joined the firm, we had acquired a small recruiting firm thinking that was the answer, thinking the way recruiting companies do it is going to grow regardless. And we quickly found out that it was not. And so she and I have really kind of built this philosophy on treating a candidate almost as if they're the client. And what I mean by that is there's a low unemployment rate today. It's less than 6% in some cities. There's a low participation of workforce out there in terms of finding highly skilled workers for professional environments. And so a lot of companies still feel like they're the ones with the gold as opposed to feeling like they should be a magnet for top talent, like they should go the extra mile, the extra step. And so we find ourselves not only helping companies find top talent, but really teaching them how to attract top talent. And that's everything from creating a really compelling story of how they make an impact in the world. That's really getting their act together with their relationship with the community. It's also with how they treat their employees. Are they using things like compliance, control, and command, or are they really trying to unlock, people's purpose and their passion for what they do? And so we take a different approach because we feel like, again, you can attract great people if you just look at the way in which your company's impacting the world. And I think given that there's going to be a large amount of millennials in the workforce in the next 10 years, I think they say something like 75%, we've got to be more competitively strategic with how we go after that kind of talent. And that's what we spend our time doing from a talent acquisition point of view. The question of how many jobs will the average millennial have is, I've read anywhere between 11 and 18. And how long does that mean that they'll stay? Anywhere between 2 to 3 years. This is not like it used to be. I think the average tenure of an employee was probably in the double digits at one point in time in corporate America. And so today what we find are people are more transient, people are in their minds less loyal, and I think companies are struggling to figure out what to do with that. And so the analogy I give people is, a software company will think about a concept called the lifetime value of a client. And so what we ask companies to think about is, what's the lifetime value of an employee? If you're a software company, you don't pretend people are going to stay forever. You use a 2 to 3, maybe a 4-year horizon. And so we encourage companies to think about it the exact same way. So if you know that the average employee for a certain position, let's say salespeople as an example, is about 2 years just nationally, you got to ask yourself a question. What are you going to do to keep people longer than 2 years? And what if we just set your business model around keeping them for 2 years? How would that change the way you would recruit? How would that change the way you would train and develop those people? It doesn't mean treat them less good. It just means think about it a little differently. And by the way, when someone leaves your organization, could you have a better referral source for new talent? In fact, one of the guys leading one of our consulting business today was someone who was with us 10 years ago. He was with us for 5 years. He left and, as we say, did a little bit of market research, actually went to a bigger consulting firm, and then 5 years later came back. And I don't look at that as how great we are, but I think it's because we're very thoughtful about the offboarding process of employees. So the idea that companies need to attract talent is certainly one part of growing regardless. But the second part is, how do you keep them engaged? And so the studies will say that the American workforce is nearly 70% disengaged, meaning they don't understand what's expected of them. They don't have the tools necessary. I mean, Gallup has published this survey for 15 years. And when you start thinking about that we haven't engaged the workforce, what we like to say is, we've engaged them with the brain in their head, but there's a brain in the heart and there's a brain in the gut that we feel companies could engage. And so what that looks like is, how do you get someone to follow their heart or their passion? It doesn't mean that they don't ever have to pick up a shovel and do hard work, but is there something about what that company has people doing that they're really excited about, that they're really engaged for? And the brain and the gut is about impact. Like, how can you help them understand what they're doing has an impact not only on your customers, but how about on your customers' lives? How about on the world? How about on a small scale, your community? And so what you're finding is, beyond corporate social responsibility, books like Conscious Capitalism and one of our partners right now is writing a book called Evolved Enterprises. It's a book about how a company makes money and mission not mutually exclusive. And so it's I think going to be a pretty big trend that employers should think about if they want to retain top talent.